Hello, and welcome to The Better Part. I'm Bev Lenahan, and today we're going to hear about Redwood Glen. Redwood Glen builds leaders through their camps and conferences. Stay tuned.
Welcome to The Better Part, a program that encompasses a diverse spectrum of topics important to our community, which we hope will both inform and entertain you. We invite you to sit back and enjoy the program.
Welcome to The Better Part today. It's so much fun to gather here today and talk about Redwood Glen, a place I've come to know and really appreciate. So I'm looking forward to hearing about it today. I'd like to introduce you to our viewing audience. First, Mike Sosha, the Executive Director of Redwood Glen. Thank you for being here, Mike.
Oh, my pleasure.
Good. And Karen Yee. Karen is an ordained pastor, a minister for the American Baptist Church, and we're really appreciative of you being here today, too.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you so much. So one of the first things I want to start with is the name Redwood Glen. When my daughters were young, they went to a science camp up in the Santa Cruz foothills called Redwood Glen. Well, that's not this Redwood Glen. So maybe we could start out by making it clear about which Redwood Glen you are, where you are, and tell us a little bit about that, Mike.
Actually, as it turns out, Bev, there are a couple of Redwood Glens, and occasionally somebody will come to us looking for the other one and vice versa. So the other one is actually a Salvation Army camp about 30 miles south of us. We are located in Loma Mar, California, which is sort of between Pescadero and La Honda, not too far from Redwood City and not too far from Half Moon Bay. So we're in an absolutely wonderful location, smack dab in the middle of the Redwood Forest, and it is just a beautiful spot for groups to come and to visit.
Yes, and I remember the first time I traveled south from Half Moon Bay to find Loma Mar. I didn't know where it was. But once you're there, you realize that the paths to get there are pretty easy. It's just a matter of deciding you're going to be there and doing it. And once you're at that beautiful spot, you don't want to leave. I know that for sure. Yeah, so here you are celebrating 55 years. Tell us a little bit more about the setting and the location and what you have going in your whole location at Redwood Glen.
Well, as I mentioned, we are in Loma Mar, population of 167. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous spot in the middle of the Redwood Forest. And we have 165 acres of wooded property. We have trails, and we have several buildings that people enjoy. We have cabins. We also have a couple of retreat-style buildings. And then we have a hotel-style building with 22 rooms that people just absolutely love. So it's a great location. We serve delicious food. We specialize in hospitality, and we are just a place where people can come and get away from life and enjoy the beauty, the nature that's put around us.
They can be renewed, really, by being in that location. I like the fact that you've got something for everybody. A lot of people still do like to camp outside and have that outdoor feeling, particularly in the beautiful redwoods, right? But then also there are some folks, and I would fall in that category, who would like that motel kind of feeling, and then you put the hospitality on top of it. That sounds like a good plan to me.
Sure, and in addition to all that, we're more than just a facility. We're a Christian camping conference center. So our focus is to give people an opportunity to come and get closer to God while they're getting away from the busyness of life.
I understand many lives have been transformed as a result of being at Redwood Glen. So
For sure.
Yeah, I want to hear about that from Karen. So knowing that we're celebrating 55 years of Redwood Glen, I know you've got a long history with Redwood Glen. So tell us a little bit about that history and your involvement in it. It's really wonderful.
Well, I wasn't there at the very beginning, but the camp began through a vision and a dream of some young pastors. Brian Wright Reverend Brian Wright was the, I guess, the spearhead of it. And he looked across and decided that we wanted to provide a location for American Baptist youth to get away, to grow closer to God, and to be renewed and refreshed. And so in 1958, they found this little plot of land of 150 acres, and they purchased it. And some of the money that went to purchase it came from a organization called Changming House in Richmond. And that was a boys' home for Chinese boys. And boys that came over that didn't have a place to go or just needed a little extra help, they lived in this residential facility. And when the camp, when they decided to close that facility, the dream was that they wanted an ongoing place for these Chinese boys and girls to be able to find God. And so they voted to take some of the proceeds from the sale of that house to help purchase, actually, Redwood Glen.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that history.
And so, and that dream has continued because there are many Chinese churches that continue to send their boys and girls and youth and young men and young women to the camp. And so it continues to be a place, not just for Chinese, but for all people to come for renewal, refreshment, and spiritual growth.
So that's one thing I wanted to say. I know it might have started with that wonderful nucleus of the Chinese children, but now you have quite a diverse group coming to Redwood Glen for all kinds of camps.
Absolutely. We have, like Mike said, we have program camps that's offered for children and young people through the summer. And those are set in the summer, and kids come, and every year they come and they grow. But we also rent out our facilities, and we have a variety of people that come and use it. We have, for a while there, UC Berkeley was coming, and their international students were using the facilities.
Oh, nice.
We had the Youth Symphony coming, and that was really pretty to hear music wafting through the redwood trees.
In the redwoods, yes.
And also, for a while there, we also had outdoor ed coming. The school district, we're sending the outdoor ed program. And so along with all of those facilities, other rental groups such as churches and other nonprofits.
Right, we can work with religious, educational, and nonprofit organizations as part of our 501c3.
Oh, that makes sense. So that means that I know, for instance, Sunnyvale Presbyterian Church has been having their family camp there. I think it's going on, 30 years maybe they've been coming, and that's Labor Day weekend, and they bring everybody, and they take up, I think, all your facilities, don't they?
They do. Last year they came with 370 people.
Yeah, so that's sort of an annual thing that they look forward to every single year.
And it's exciting to have them there.
Yeah, good. Well, you started coming when you were younger. So tell us a little bit about your early days at Redwood Glen.
Well, Redwood Glen, for me, is a very special place. In fact, I had probably 3 of my most significant moments occurred at Redwood Glen. I came when I was a young person from my home church, which was the First Chinese Baptist Church of San Francisco. And they continue to hold their annual youth camp there. And it was in that camp where I got away for the first time, away from parents, away from the city, and just came out to be in the redwoods. And it was in that place where I made the decision, in a safe place, I guess. That was another thing. It was a safe place, not only a beautiful place, but a safe place where I was nurtured and encouraged. And it was there that I made my decision to follow Christ. And so that was my first decision that occurred at Redwood Glen. Many years later, I went back, and in the beauty of nature and in the quiet of the chapel in the woods, God and I had a long talk, and it was there that I decided to enter seminary. And so that was my second major decision that happened at Redwood Glen. And then finally, Redwood Glen is a place not only for people to come and become renewed and refreshed, but it's also a place that has groomed leaders. In the program camp, many young people have gone through the program, but then they've come back to become leaders and counselors. Individual churches, same thing has happened. People have learned how to develop their leadership skills. They've found their gifts and their talents, and myself have the same way. Discovered who I was, and it was at Redwood Glen where I made my third decision to actually go into pastoral ministry. And so Redwood Glen is not only a place where people can go to discover God, but it's also a place where they can groom their leadership skills by working in program camps as well as their own church retreats.
What a wonderful example. And I am thinking back in my own life about a couple of those times when I've made significant decisions like that, and they have been in the quiet, in nature. And there's something about that ability to connect and be still, as you said, and listen, that really does awaken all of that. And I think young people today are, in their own way, searching for those places where they can be, where it's not so busy, and where it can they can reflect. And sometimes they have to sort of be taught how to do that, because they are in such a crazy world today, of all their digital gadgets and stuff. But away, it's easier. It's just a lot easier. And
well, that's the one thing many young people have said is, before, we actually now have Wi-Fi at the camp, but there was a period of time where you couldn't get any cell phone reception, you couldn't get anything, and kids found that they had to leave everything at home. They left their digital stuff at home, and they found that they had to learn how to be quiet and how to be with themselves and how to talk to one another. And so
lost art.
It's a lost art, it really was. I know I've brought several children to camp, and for some of these kids, it's the first time that they've ever come into nature. It's the first time they've ever seen a redwood tree. It's the first time that they've ever been somewhere where it's actually dark, where it's actually quiet, where they can actually see the stars. And there's something about that that helps them to see that they're connected to a bigger world.
Yes.
And so there's an interconnectedness that they learn, not only to God, but to one another and to themselves as well.
Yes.
And so for many of these children, it's the first time. There was another program that we just wanted to make sure that no kid was left inside, that every child would have the experience of appreciating nature and outdoor.
So did you do that through hikes and exploring outside? How did that program kind of, what were the program elements there?
Well, at Redwood Glen, there's a lot to do. There's the swimming pool, and for some kids, it's the first time they have a chance to swim in a pool. But there's many hikes and lots of trails that they can go. One of the favorite activities is creek stomping, where the kids can actually walk through a creek and find that there are things that are alive in that creek. Sometimes it's just being quiet, taking night hikes and looking up at the stars, sitting around a campfire and seeing fire. A lot of kids don't have that ability, but all of these things put together with a safe place where people love them. I can guarantee that for many of these children, they don't get the love that they deserve or need. And when they come, especially to our program camps, they are loved unconditionally. They are shown that they are valued, that they are worthy, and they leave changed, never the same again.
There's really no finer gift than to give a young person that sense of confidence in a place where they do feel safe, teaching them how to trust, really, and trust in a connectedness that's beyond themselves.
Absolutely.
What a great gift, for sure. Well, now, fast forward, we've got 55 years going on now, and some of the programs have evolved over time. So what are some of the newer programs that you've brought into place?
Well, we're always trying to do something new, and we're always trying to appeal to people and to find out what their needs are. I would suggest that Karen's story is only one story of the hundreds of people who have had their lives changed over the years. You can imagine 55 years of history and the people that have come through our programs during that time. We currently are doing music and drama camps at Redwood Glen.
Very good.
During our summer camp. We are also doing programs that just allow kids to focus on being in the outside. We have a camp where kids sleep in tents all week long. All their meals are cooked over an open fire. And the kids not only enjoy that, but participate in that as well. And so it's a great opportunity for kids to truly be in the out of doors. In addition to that, we also want to offer programs for adults. And one of the programs that I am very excited about is held over Valentine's Day each year, and it's a marriage retreat program. And my wife and I attended it last year simply because we wanted to see what it was all about and to experience it firsthand. And let me tell you, it was one of the best marriage retreats I've ever been to. People are pampered and cared for, but they're also taught many things. And it doesn't matter how many years you've been married. You could be married 2 months or 41 years, and the retreat touches all of your lives. And it's really a great opportunity to get together. And then because we are in a natural setting, we're also focusing this year on a weekend program, that puts spirituality and nature together. And I'm very excited about the opportunities of that program. And I think that the people that come will have an opportunity to not only get closer to nature, but closer to God at the same time.
With all of our emphasis now on the environment and how we can care for it, wow, what a wonderful coupling of a message along with the experiencing really what are some things we can do to align better to take more care of our environment.
Absolutely, and we need to focus on that at camp as well. So there are lots of programs that we're putting into place at our facility that focus on caring for the environment, and that's really important.
Very good. I could see how the kids could kind of get involved too in bringing some ideas to that whole story. They're learning some of that in school, but there you are in a real testing ground where you can actually do it. So
Exactly.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I know you have a nature center that you've identified, and you're actually celebrating one of the people who helped bring that to fruition, right?
That's correct. One of our original people who brought to camp this adventure camp where the kids sleep outdoors and learn about nature. He has passed away, and we have dedicated a nature center in his honor. And what's cool about it is that we have in that nature center materials that will focus on what the environment is like around our camp facility. So it talks about the trees and the flowers and the ferns and the animals and all that to help people, number one, identify what's there, and number two, appreciate them even more.
Very good. Thank you for that. Karen, I was thinking maybe you had an example. We were mentioning the CMAD, I think you call it, the drama and music camps. Can you remember some of the situations as you were growing up having CMAD camp?
Children Music and Drama Camp is a real special one. The kids come, and many of them don't really know what to expect. And so they arrive and they expect going to camp, whatever that means for them. And it used to begin in second grade. And so kids as young as second grade would gather. And in that week, they would not only experience everything about camp, you know, your crafts and your hikes and your pool and your cabins and all of that, and your counselors and all of that, but they put on a musical. So they learn the words of a musical, how to sing songs, choreography,
costuming,
staging, puppet shows, dance, sign language. And by the end of the week, their parents come and they are able to put on a full performance. I remember the first time I experienced, I was blown away that in 1 week the kids could do that much. But they're motivated and it's fun. And they have been able to accomplish something. And at the end of the week, they come and they can't wait to show their parents what they've learned and what they've accomplished. And there's something really rewarding for a child. And some of the children that I know, it's their first time that they ever got a solo. It's the first time that they were ever taught that they could memorize something. It was the first time that they could take the lead in a play. And some of them have gone on to further their acting career, further their music career. For some of them, it's simply, it gave them the confidence to be able to do it in other areas of their life.
They're building the leadership skills and they don't even know it because they're having such a good time.
And the other thing that they're building is friendship.
Yes. Trust in one another.
A little boy came to me the other day and he said, I came back and I saw a couple of my friends from last year. And that's exciting because they're going to be able, once they go once, and that's all they need is one time, they come back and they look for each other, and they develop friendships that will last a lifetime. And many of these kids, after they get done with our program, they want to come back and give back. They want to
be counselors.
And they want to be staff. And some of them dream to take over the camp someday. So you better watch out, Mike.
I'm watching it.
But I think that's a testimony too, that there's longevity there.
Absolutely.
And you're a testament to that. You've been going as a camper and then as a leader and a trainer, and you still are connected to the camp in many, many ways. That's great.
I wanted to mention that in the camp that Karen was referring to, all these things do happen, just as she said, but it's all done in a Christian setting. And I think that in the process of learning this musical and performing and all that, that it's done with staff who truly care for each person as an individual and love them in a way that Christ would love them. And recently we had a little boy who came, actually he's from Karen's church, and he came to camp, and I have to tell you that the first time I saw him at camp, I was a little concerned that he may not, quote, fit in to what was happening. But in fact, as I went to the first rehearsal, when everybody's standing up singing, he's sitting down and not paying attention. And so I was concerned about it, and throughout the week, I watched as staff would walk with him one-on-one, talk with him one-on-one, and care for him in a loving way. On Saturday, I sat to watch the performance. And on Saturday, I happened to look up and I saw this little boy who was not even close to paying attention. Not only was he singing with the group, he was dancing with the group,
Oh my.
not missing a step. And then I watched in awe as he did a solo.
Oh my.
And I happened to walk up to one of the leaders of the camp and say, "Is that the same kid that I saw?" She said, "Absolutely." She said, "He's just one of our success stories." And it was a success story.
Yeah.
This child had his life changed and went back to his home church. I wrote a story about it for our newsletter. Didn't use his name. Karen came to me recently and said, "I read the story about it," and she mentioned his name. It was like, okay. So you knew who I was talking about. She said, "Absolutely." So it is a success.
Well, and sometimes in school, these children tend to be forgotten or put in a classification where they are put aside. And in a setting like this, they can come into their own. It can be transforming for a child, but also for an adult. I'm thinking about some of the conferences that you have where people come and rent the facility. Just being in that setting alone sets a tone for really getting in touch with whether it's intellectual information that's getting imparted or motivational information. Just the setting alone, not too far from home, is something worth looking into. I know that there are several groups that I've been talking to about booking conferences and strategic planning meetings and off-sites at Redwood Glen, because it just really lends itself to that kind of an atmosphere where creativity can take over and stretching your goals and things like that. So.
Absolutely. We have women's groups and church groups and men's groups and youth groups, and we have all sorts of groups that come and use our facility. And when they leave on Sunday, they will have had an experience that changes many, many people. Now, what we offer is the hospitality, the food, the lodging, and all that. But we also offer the atmosphere, the place where all that can be facilitated.
And I think that's important. The operational part has to be sort of seamless, where it's not really that obvious. It just happens, and it's looks very easy. But it's not so easy to make it happen behind the scenes. And then that forward part of it is the hospitality and making sure the staff still presents that all the time. And so that's a part of leadership, having the staff feel that they do have an important role to play in terms of the hospitality piece of it.
And the overall experience.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, you bet. Well, it's a wonderful place to go into. So what about the future? What do we see here in this next 55 years for Redwood Glen?
Well, we're very excited about the future. We are 55 years old, and we've accomplished a lot during those 55 years, but we have so much more to accomplish, and we recognize that. One of the things that we're excited about is that we are in the process of a capital campaign to raise monies to eliminate any debt that we have and to rejuvenate some of our facilities so that the people who come in the future will have the resources that they need to be able to accomplish their program.
Yeah, when you're in the outside like that, things wear off and wear down, and you have to continually take care of them, right?
One of the neat things about Redwood Glen is that we are able, sometimes we have to do a timber harvest, and we have to cut down some of the old growth just because it's getting a little old and they're afraid it's going to fall over.
Sure.
But the wood from that becomes recycled back into Redwood Glen, and
the furniture, probably
into the furniture,
decking,
into the deck, into some of the chairs, and there's something very special about the interconnectedness of everything that's there at Redwood Glen.
It's through forest management, and we have a very healthy forest, and we want to maintain that. We also want to have upgraded facilities, so it works for both the forest and for us.
Good. Well, Mike and Karen, so the most important thing is, how do people find out about Redwood Glen? How can they reach you?
Well, we do have a web presence. We are www.redwoodglen.com. A little bit different than most. We are a .com website. So that's how you can contact us on the web, and we have a really nice website there. We can also be contacted by phone, emails. Info@redwoodglen.com works really well for questions. We would love to talk to people. And one of the things I might mention is that we do tours of our facility constantly. So if there might be somebody listening who would like to see the facility, certainly give us a call or email us, and we would love to have them come and see all that there is to see.
Good. I know I've got some folks I'd like to bring over for a tour.
Excellent.
For sure. This has been a real joy for me, and I just know that the next 55 years for Redwood Glen is going to be equally important and wonderful for everyone who comes, and for the staff, and for those who take care of it. So thank you both for joining me today. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Karen.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on The Better Part.